Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Tuesday, June 17th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Akron game in 74 days, the game against Michigan in 165 days. We're going to get into all sorts of Ohio State camp stuff. First, a little bit of housekeeping. A change in the schedule for Ohio State for 2026. Goodbye, UConn. Hello, Grambling State. It is Ohio State not ducking Jim Mora and the Mighty Huskies. They just didn't want to have one of their off weeks be week 2. So they shifted it, ended up working out better for UConn as well. So they mutually agreed upon a schedule change, no problem. And if you don't know anything about Grambling State, don't worry about the football team. Just worry about the band. One of the greatest bands among the HBCU teams, a little bit like when Florida A&M came up in 2013, 2011, whenever that was. But their band did not come up. The whole point of that game was bring their band up and let one of the great HBCU bands play with on the same field as Ohio State's band. Maybe we'll get to that next year with Grambling. All right, so that's the housekeeping. On with the exciting portion of today's show, which is Chris Henry Jr. Holy smokes. Joined by Marc Givler of BuckeyeHuddle.com. And I guess the first thing is, I stood next to Chris Henry Jr. I'm 6'2", and I'm looking at, the tops of his shoulders. He's listed at 6'5". He's got to be bigger than that.
He could very well be 6'6". You could talk me into 6'6", 6'6.5". Special talent. Mm-hmm. Just the way he's able to move at that size. I know everyone's already trying to call him Jimmy Graham, or is he going to be a tight end? Until I see him not be able to execute route running at the highest of levels, he's going to be a receiver for me. But just a freak of nature, and good to see him back here, obviously, after the move to California and working with Brian Hartline.
And he also, in addition to getting taller, he was, a couple of years ago when he was here visiting, and he was in, 7th grade at that point, but he was, just a stick. He was a rail. Looks like he has put on 15, 20 pounds of good weight, and he was moving out there. I don't know how much of the one-on-ones you got to watch, but it was whatever you need to do. Did you need him to take the top off the defense? No problem. Do you need him to go on the sideline? No problem. Do you need to fight through traffic in the middle? No problem. It was just whatever you need to do, he was there. Yeah,
he was probably the most physically impressive kid here, and that's saying something. There were a lot of very highly ranked kids here in the 26 class. And again, Chris just kind of stands out among the other aliens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there were another very, very highly rated wide receiver, Cederian Morgan out of Alabama. He was here as well. Yeah, and it was like he had a very impressive day, and there were probably days this summer where he would have been the best athlete on the field. And then you put him next to Chris Henry Jr., and it was like, he had a very good day, but he wasn't Chris Henry Jr.
No, he's just, he's not 6'5", 6'6", and when Chris can do all the things that the 6'1" receivers can do at his size, it just really separates him. But Cederian was very good, can take the top off the defense, explosive, strong hands, strong build. I think he'll get a little bit stronger too on top of that, but already fairly strong. And I thought, again, had a great day, and this was a great receiver group. Yeah. This was a really good receiver group. I know Hartline's had a few good groups this summer, but I kind of like this one the best.
It was up there. And Morgan looks like he's got 2 more years of high school. He looks like he's physically ready to play at the college level, where he's big, solid, again, go up, get the ball, very good hands. It was, I don't want to take anything away from him. He had a very nice day as well. I'm sure he would be someone that Ohio State would be very interested in having in their class. Yep. One other name, we had sort of names on our, we knew Chris Henry Jr. was coming. We knew Cederian Morgan was coming. There were other names we knew. There was one that I did not know walking in, and every once in a while you'll have who's that guy? And then you'll have there goes that man again. And that man for me today was 2027 wide receiver Trenton Yansy, where you kept looking and who is the kid in the Aaliyah shirt? And you just, remember Stetson Bennett would wear the USPS hat to camps to be memorable. Well, Trenton Yancey was the kid in the Aaliyah shirt. And all day I'm like, who is the kid in the Aaliyah shirt? He kept making plays all day, and you actually got a chance to talk to him after the camp.
Yeah, so I had a little bit of an advantage on this one. Margin Hooks is his trainer down in Texas. He's out of Arlington, and he trains Dalen McCutcheon. We were down at Dalen's workout with Margin during Southern Swing, so I got a text this morning saying, hey, watch this kid. I got one of my kids there. I said, okay, what year? He says 27. I was like, oh, okay. He said Trenton Yancey. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I kind of was able to get a look at what he looked like, and I've lined him up out there. I'm like, oh, that kid's awesome. And then we looked up, he's got 30 offers already. And this kid's big time. So he had an unbelievable day. Not as tall as maybe a couple of the other guys, maybe 6 feet, maybe-ish. but boy, can he do everything.
Yeah.
Accurate circus catches, separation, just a great route runner, explosive kid. Gosh, he was fantastic. They haven't offered him yet. I tend to think they will, if not today, at some point.
And he was one where they were, as you said, kind of did a little bit of everything. I've got pictures of him going over the middle. I got pictures of him going down the sideline. I got pictures of him running a post in the end zone. I have pictures of him, and I threw this on my Twitter account, and it's on the huddle board at BuckeyeHuddle.com as well, going up and just mossing a guy. And the coverage was phenomenal. It was like A-plus coverage, nothing you could do better, and just went up, mossed him, caught it, came down with it, fought for it, touchdown. Incredibly impressive. Those are the guys that I always remember is, you come here and it's like you're coming here and expecting to see Chris Henry Jr. look good, and he looks better than good, and it's like, oh, good, good for him, that's great. The kids who you come and you don't know who they are when you walk in the door, and you're like, who is that guy? Those are the ones that always kind of stick with me. Those are the ones that, generally are reflective of big things might be ahead.
Very Milan Graham-ish, except, Graham didn't have, this kid has the offers already from like out of states, from out of region schools, But in terms of not knowing maybe who he was at the beginning of camp and him just impressing just off of what he was doing out there versus a name or a star ranking, and good news for Ohio State fans. He's got family in Columbus, Cleveland, and Youngstown, and referred to Ohio State several times in my interview as wide receiver U. So that's a kid that seems gettable.
Yeah.
It's early, but seems very gettable. Came all the way up here. The only other school he's going to visit this summer that was he visited Texas schools, Oklahoma, and he's going to go to Georgia in a few days, and that's it. So Ohio State was Ohio State and Georgia are the outliers here in terms of getting outside of Texas and in that part of the country. So look out for that kid. We'll have an interview up with him on the YouTube channel on the website. And again, he'll refer to Ohio State as wide receiver U multiple times.
Yeah, that's definitely a name I did not know, but a name for you to know and for everyone to know moving forward. A name that I think everyone did know coming in, and a name people knew 35 years ago for a different reason. 2025 running back Bo Jackson, obviously someone we have seen at these camps for a number of years. He is another guy who just every year it's like, oh, he's bigger and stronger than he was last year, but still moving really well. A current Ohio State running back commit for 2025. I never want to draw too many conclusions from a camp setting with a running back, but he kind of checked all the boxes for me in what I watched.
He's big, fast, and strong, and agile.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got all the physical tools, and he's not committed to Georgia, folks, by the way. I just want to make sure we get that in there. He did pick Ohio State. Funny. Anyway, tremendous day out there. You like to see, you got to see him run between the tackles and everything else. So there are some things running backs can't really show out here, but he's a big kid. I mean, he's 210, be pushing 220 soon, and he's already out there doing the things the scat backs are doing. So this shouldn't be a setting that maybe he thrives in, and he does, and that's just all the more impressive. Much like Chris Henry Jr. at the receiver position, all the more impressive that he's doing the same things at even a higher level than smaller people.
And Carlos Laughlin, the new running backs coach, had a drill set up where he had pads set up just kind of like a yard apart, give or take, and they would kind of have him kind of running like a sweep, and then he would just say, go, and you have to stick your foot in the ground and go in one of the kind of channels between the two pads. Looked very comfortable sticking his foot in the ground, good change of direction, very explosive. Yeah, it was, usually when you look at an Ohio State caliber player, a guy who they've offered, a guy who's committed, you can look and go, yeah, that is someone who's doing something that most other people cannot do. And even in a pretty talented, another running back group where this was not a bunch of, guys who are going to be playing D3 or going to college in something other than sports. This is a very solid running back group. Again, kind of stood out there, so that's very impressive. Another guy who was very impressive, that you said, in the defensive line group where there were some talented players as well, 2026 defensive lineman Deuce Geralds.
Yeah, Deuce Geralds was here today. We will have more of the defensive line group on the board, on the huddle board, because it was a very talented group, but just for reference of kind of one-on-ones, Deuce had the most dominant performance in one-on-ones. He kept taking reps. He was taking reps at 3 tech. He was taking reps as kind of like a 5 tech. He took reps on the edge. No one could stop him. They couldn't stop him inside. They couldn't stop him outside. He showed just a an array of pass rush moves, and he's just so strong and explosive coming off the football that people were having a hard. He was getting into guys before they could even realize the ball was snapped. Just an unbelievable player. I continue to love where Ohio State's at with that one. I think there's a very good chance. He's currently in my projected 2026 class, and I don't really see that changing. I think something we have to go pretty sideways.
Well, so that is the last day of these camps that we cover all summer. There's the month of June, always we get 5 or 6 of those. We're wrapping it up on Tuesday with the 7-on-7 camp, which we'll get a chance to watch. It's not drills. What 7-on-7 is. Lots of wide receivers and skill guys, and not a lot of line play, but that's okay. So get a chance to watch some of these guys in a little bit more of a game situation. We will be back here covering all of that. May get a chance to talk to Ryan Day. We'll see if that happens. Hoping to get a chance to ask the head coach a few questions as we head into the summer and head into July, which is generally they're wrapping up official visits later this month. Then that tends to be committing season for a certain number of guys. So July will be a busy first half of July with that, busy second half of July with Big Ten Media Days. Kevin, Tony, and I have already been brainstorming about Big Ten Media Days. Lots of exciting stuff on tap there. And then fall camp starts August 1st. Should be a really, really fun few months heading into the season at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That's where you can find Kevin, Tony, and I covering the team, Mark covering recruiting, and our whole team of X's and O's gurus making you a smarter football fan, all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.